comic books for years and years, studying. Yes, I studied extensively for that role. No, that was one of the roles I was really nervous about because I love that character so much. You know, I was just a fan of X-Men comic books and a fan of Emma Frost long before that cartoon came around, so I was freaking nervous about doing it justice when we, you know, had the auditions and I got the part and went into the studio. So yeah, I mean, I thought a lot about those relationships and thought a lot about her character, and man, the thing I love so much about Emma Frost is that she is so 50 Shades of Grey. You can take that however you want. Because she's not just a villain, she's not just a hero, she's got all of these different layers to her. Sometimes you love her, sometimes you hate her, sometimes, you know, she's making terrible choices, and personally I find that fascinating. So it was awesome to play her and to try to make her all of those things: likable, sympathetic, evil, sexy, you know, poignant, all those different things, and try to bring across all of those aspects of her character. It's a great challenge.
Thank you. We love you, Kari.
Oh, thank you. Hi.
I was wondering what would happen if your characters were like in a house all together.
If my characters, oh, this is good. If my characters were all in a house together, Haruko would be smashing things, like smashing lamps with her guitar. Fu would be eating all of the food in the refrigerator. Kagami would be sitting in a corner journaling dryly about everything going on. She'd be the dry blogger of the whole thing. I think Emma Frost would be reading everyone's mind and using it to her advantage, especially if we were talking about some sort of survivor living in a house together. Emma would probably take it. Gosh. And there'd probably be a lot of fighting going on. And a lot of cleavage.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
You played Ash in Final Fantasy XII, right?
I did.
How'd you feel about playing him? Because when I played Final Fantasy XII, I love the series. It's just like, Ash is one of my favorite characters of all time from the series, and I really love her, and so it's like, oh, I'm being here today.
Oh.
That's really cool, because I'm like, because I didn't know that she was coming to Anime Boss, and I'm like, whoa, one of my favorite characters is coming.
And I was like, whoa, I'm going to Anime Boston.
And like, I love Ash, and I would just like to know, like, how'd you feel playing her? Because she's like this character who's, like, she's like a fallen angel, she's like trying to bring up her kingdom again, except like there's this whole, oh, you know, we're gonna break down your kingdom, we're gonna burn you to the ground. She's just like, I'm gonna go around with the 6 strangers I don't know, and I'm gonna like, hopefully get my kingdom back, you know?
Yeah.
How'd you feel about that?
I loved Ash. Ash is another example of one of those strong female characters that I think is a great example to women that you know, you can have beauty and poise and sensitivity and strength and intellect all in one character. Like I love that about her. Another great thing about that whole experience with Final Fantasy XII and Ash, for those of you that said that you're interested in becoming voice actors, this is another perfect example where acting chops and training as an actor really make a difference when it comes to voiceover. When I was doing that game, we had recorded, I think, 1 session, and then I had started taking a Shakespeare class in my free time. You know, so we're doing monologues and we're up on stage and we're practicing it, and you know, Ash is very poised and very regal. And I had taken the Shakespeare class, and then I went back in and did another session in Final Fantasy, and they said, we're not sure why, but you're tapping into something much more regal. with the character. You're tapping into something that's capturing the tone of the piece, capturing the character a lot more. We want to re-record a lot of the stuff that we did in that first session. So we actually went back and re-recorded it, and I firmly believe it was because I had taken that Shakespeare class on the side, and it really fueled a lot of the things in Ash's character.
Yeah, I can just say that like there's just one line that I really love from all the Final Fantasy series. It's from Ash specifically, and it's the one time when they're on the Bahamut, and then Vane's just like it's the final battle, right? And then and Vane walks up and he's like, well, like this whole "I'm gonna bring you down" speech. That's because I'm the final villain. Ooh. And he says, Ash, are you like this angel of salvation or something like that? Then she just responds to something with just like, I'm simply myself, no more and no less.
Gosh, I'm glad that you weren't auditioning at the same time that I was.
And I want only to be free. And that was like my favorite line ever. I just want to say thank you for being a good character.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I so appreciate that.
Short enough to reach the microphone. Yes. I want to start my question by saying that you are on my top list of celebrities I had to meet. Like, my friends are like, One Direction's coming to Boston, and I'm like, Kari Wahlgren's coming to Boston! So, I wanted to just say that everything that I've seen you do, I'm like fangirl. So thank you for that. So my question's kind of a two-parter, but not really.
Okay.
I'm actually here because I adored your work as Mio in Fatal Frame 2.
Oh, man, thank you.
I'm that person. It's like, I was in that. And so I want to start off by saying that you said that you like the characters that are like tough and Mio is not that, but at the same time she is. So how did you feel connecting with this character who is very protective of her sister, but at the same time is like really scared at the fact that there's ghosts everywhere?
That's a great question. And the coolest thing about that game is that it sincerely freaked my shizzle out. Okay, for those of you that haven't played it, it's very The Ring-esque, you know? And you have to imagine that I go in alone into a tiny, dark room, and the only light is a TV screen with the images of this game in front of me. It's like, holy crap, I don't have to work really hard to act scared on this. So when I think about that game, like I just have this visceral, my heart starts to beat a little faster. I'm like, oh yeah, that game, oh yeah. But it's kind of nice because I also felt like I used that for the character because, you know, there's nothing wrong with a character being fragile and being scared and trying to find strength. And, you know, sometimes those characters don't find it. Sometimes they stay scared. And in her case, because she had the sister, you know, it kind of forced her to try to overcome that fear.
Right. And the second kind of part to my question is, I'm surprised, do you still know how to do her voice? And if you do, could you say something?
Do you have a favorite line from her?
No, I don't. I'm trying to think of the line. I'm blanking out. I'm sorry.
All I can remember is that she was kind of high and delicate like this.
She said one of the lines, she said, she was trapped in this village with her boyfriend, and then what happened? Like, where did she go?
She was trapped in a village, in a dark booth, and there were corpses on the screen. And suddenly, the camera was panned in a dark, cold hallway. And a corpse came up, and I had to be very, very brave, even though it was hard.
Thank you so much.
That was the general synopsis.
Hello, I'm very honored to meet you for the first time.
Thank you so much.
I gotta say, this is my first time in anime Boston, and I really like anime so much. then I'm writing my own story.
Awesome, that's great.
My question to you is, do you go to school for voice acting?
That's a great question. I went to school for theater. I actually got a degree in that. And I got a minor in voice, in singing. But now I still take classes. I just finished a weekend intensive class in improv a couple weeks ago. I was doing a class before that. So I constantly want to keep challenging myself and learning. You never get too good or too successful to learn something new. So
Yeah, I'm hoping someday to be a writer, unless I want to voice my own characters.
awesome, keep at it, keep at it.
And you did blog posts as the main character side.
I did. And Diva too.
I heard too.
I can try to sign that afterwards if you're ready. They have the way, so.
Well, I hope someday to be here when I'm a writer someday.
Awesome, thank you. Well,
Thank you so much.
Okay, so, in Kid Icarus Uprising, well, first of all, they misspelled your name in the credits.
My name has been misspelled so many times and mispronounced, so thank you for bringing this up. Can everybody say Ferrari?
Ferrari.
Can everybody say Kari?
Kari.
Can everybody say Kari Ferrari?
Kari Ferrari.
Spread the word, tell your friends, it's Kari.
Kari.
Like Ferrari.
Kari.
So yes, it's been misspelled, mispronounced.
Is there anything different about that role than some of the other ones you've had, like either because of working with Nintendo specifically or just in general?
Not really. I mean, it was a good experience, but there wasn't anything about it that was, I didn't have any major life epiphanies during that experience. It was just good. It was a good experience.
How you doing?
Hi, fine.
And nice to see you again. Yeah, I never asked you yesterday because I know you did voice Sharon Wolf's Rain. But did you have any other favorite characters besides Cher?
Oh, yes. The story about Wolf's Rain is that I would go into this dark studio and I'd be recording it and I would hear this voice. I'd be acting with this other voice that just literally was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm a little tingly. Who is that guy? And somebody said, oh, and that's Steve Bloom. So it was a pleasure to, whenever we would record a new volume and Steve would go in and record first, because then I'd get to go into the booth and just listen to his voice. Okay, I don't have to work to get that breathy quality on this. But the funny thing about that also was that Steve and I worked on a ton of shows for years and never met each other.
Wow.
And played characters opposite each other. So it was literally probably 4 or 5 years before he and I actually finally met in a lobby. And it's like, man, hi, how are you? So yeah, I remember listening to Steve's voice in my headphones during that show.
Again, I do want to thank you very much because Wolf's Rain is by far my favorite anime of all time, and it's such a pleasure finally meeting you and being able to come to Anime Boston again, because Wolf's Rain is something that I think a lot of people don't really pay attention to anymore, especially at like anime cons. So thank you again for coming. I really do appreciate it.
That means a lot. Hi.
It is, yes.
I think you don't get a chance to talk about it a lot when you come to anime conventions, and I would like you to talk a little bit about prelay animation, either what you're working on right now, if you can, or what you like about it, what the differences are between anime voice acting, ADR, and prelay.
Okay, so the differences between, and I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but I'm sorry. No, I'm going to give a quick recap. So with original animation, or prelay, or Western animation, it's called a lot of different things. original animation, whatever.
Where did
We record
what's his name go?
first. We have a script. We go into the studio. If we can, if the cast is able to, we get to record together in a room. And that is the first piece of the puzzle. Then they send it off to the animators. The animators can animate to our facial expressions. If we take a pause, they can animate that pause. So there's a little bit more flexibility and freedom in that way with original animation. With anime, it's already been created. We have the picture, we have the timing, we have to match it up to the lip flap. We have to be somewhat respectful of the original Japanese character. But we also get to hear the score. We also get to see the artwork. We also get to see the facial expressions in the character. So both sides bring unique pluses and minuses. And I enjoy both. I enjoy both a lot. And I like the fact that I get to do both because it's constantly really challenging for me creatively. I love it. And knock on wood, I've gotten to do enough of it that, each day I'm getting to play different characters and it keeps things interesting.